This is week 15 of the NFL, and in this Need to Know, we're talking about running backs. We finally have a week without a super cheap backup taking over a starting role. So the chalk this Sunday should be split between 5 backs who are mostly priced appropriately. Joe Mixon, Ezekiel Elliott, Saquon Barkley, Dalvin Cook, and Jaylen Samuels. Since these guys will be the highest owned players on the slate, I like to discuss reasons to be underweight on them. I'm concerned that Zeke and Saquon's prices are both at or near season highs, but Zeke is getting such an absurd amount of touches that I can't really recommend fading him. Meanwhile, Saquon could be dialed back this week with Odell Beckham returning, and I think his numbers are a little inflated after playing against bad defenses in 3 of his last 4. I really like Jaylen Samuels again this week, and while Joe Mixon and Dalvin Cook are also great plays, here's my one concern. Both those guys are technically in a timeshare with another back, and both of them dominated touches last week. While I expect them to do the same this week, they always could get vultured at a key moment. For pivots this week, I like Leonard Fournette, Tarik Cohen, and James White. Of that group, Fournette will be the closest to chalk. He might not play for the best offense, but the Jaguars have fed Fournette touches when he's healthy. The Jags are touchdown favorites at home against a Redskins team that's given up huge rushing games in recent weeks. The Redskins have one of the smallest team totals I've ever seen, so pairing Fournette with the Jags D should be profitable, but very popular. I think both of the Bears running backs are worth playing this week, but in tournaments, I always prefer the upside of Tarik Cohen. We know Cohen has the talent to take one touch to the house, but for much of the season, we couldn't trust his usage. With double-digit touches in his last 5 games and the Bears needing every win, I think we see plenty of Cohen on Sunday. I never feel good about recommending a Patriots running back, but James White is practically a receiver, and he's coming off his lowest touch count of the season. I don't think he's a great play on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, he's under 6K, should see plenty of targets in a competitive game, and he's the cheapest he's been all season. And for contrarian backs, I like Jeffrey Wilson, Tevin Coleman, and either Raiders running back. I think Jeffrey Wilson will be closer to a pivot on DraftKings, and it's hard not to like a guy who's had 23 touches in both his starts. He only had 1 catch last week in a game the 49ers mostly led, but they should be trailing and throwing to him this week. I don't know about recommending Tevin Coleman since he was in a pure 50-50 share with Ito Smith last week, but he's popping in all the projections and I can see the logic. The Falcons are nearly 10-point favorites at home against a team that's much better against the pass than the run. So we should get production from Atlanta backs, it's just hard to say which. You could similarly consider both Raiders running backs, and I think the choice is really about which site you're playing. On DraftKings, Doug Martin is cheap and eligible for a 100-yard rushing bonus, which feels so possible against this awful Bengals defense. But on FanDuel, Martin is much more expensive, while Jalen Richard, who only has 9 touches a game in his last 2, has the talent of taking 1 touch to the house and paying off his cheap salary. That's it for this Need to Know segment. If you want to see who we recommend at every position this week, you know where to find it.